in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John here. Little John's Brewing. Today we're a little bit of experimentation going on. If I can just get this to work out properly. It's just giving me a bit of grief, but we'll get there. What we're doing is I'm going to do some testing on the results of steeping grain. The reason I'm doing this is a bit of discussion a few days back on the Facebook forum, Aussie Home Brewer, regards to if you're steeping grain in a partial mash like a kit and kilo, how much of the sugars you need to reduce, you know. So and there's a little bit of difference in opinions on the amounts and way things that could be calculated. I've always been pretty much of the belief that 100 grams of grain over a batch is going to give you pretty much the same amount of gravity points in the final brew as would 100 grams of like say light dry malt. But there was some opinions thrown around whereby there was those who believe that a specialty malt, particularly specialty malts, aren't going to contribute anything in the way of alcohol or fermentability. You're only going to get flavour out of them. Now, I find that a little, for want of a better expression, hard to believe. My understanding is the crystal grains had some sort of reaction in the malting process which has got to convert some of the proteins to sugars. But to what extent, who knows? I mean, obviously you can punch numbers into software, but does that really give you a clear indication of what's what? So what I'm doing today is I'm just going to do a little bit of steeping with a few different types of grain, measure the resultant wort, and then use them as a comparison. So what I'm doing at the moment is I've got two pots here, got 2 litres of water in both, starting off at about 70 degrees. And into both of those pots I've just weighed up a little bag with 200 grams of grain. So this first one I've got here is Golden Promise. So it's a base malt. Now again, part of this theory is that with the specialty grain is that they don't have the enzymatic power to convert within the grain to create the fermentables. So therefore they're saying you need to have base malt with your specialty malt if you want to create any gravity and fermentables. So we're going to check this out. So in here, as I said, 200 grams of Golden Promise. It's just loosely in a little bag. I'm just using skimmer socks for the pool. They're only small. They do the job nicely for this. Only cost me a few dollars. That'll do the job. So I've got that in there. Soaking enough. Going to pop a bit of oil over that. I can't find the lid to that pot. It's somewhere. And in this pot I've got Carahel. So It's only a light crystal. It's obviously not a medium or anything like that, but still it's a crystal. And if there is no fermentables in these specialty malts, then we should get no gravity points out of it, or very little. So again, 200 grams in the bag, in the 2 litres of water. So, we'll see how that goes. Give that a mix around. I'm going to let that, and again, I'm going to let these both sit for half an hour. I'll pull the grain bag out. And then we'll do we'll measure the gravity. Now, this is at the moment is only part of the whole experiment. And what I'll also do after I've done this is I will combine 200 grams of each, 200 grams of the base, the Golden Promise, and 200 grams of the Caramel. Put them into 4 litres of water and see what the difference is between the individual and the combined. So effectively checking whether that base grain does make a difference if it's mashing together as opposed to just steeping those specialty grains. So that'll be a bit later on, and I will also, just for the sake of numbers, I'm going to put 200 grams of dry malt into 2 litres of water as well, and do a measurement on that. So we've got a complete accurate run of numbers over the different methods, so we can compare the grain directly with an equivalent amount of the dry malt, and from there we can hopefully draw a few conclusions about how to best calculate the numbers that you want to use if you want to replace malt or sugars with the grains. And at the end of the day, after I do this, I'm going to end up with somewhere in the vicinity of probably 8 or 9 litres of wort, which I'm going to boil up, and I'll probably throw that into a quick little boil with some hops I've looked through the fridge, see what I've got there, something different, and I might end up just popping that into a 5 litre demijohn. Just let it sit out and brew up just for something, just to save wasting the wort as such that's going to be here. Be enough for a small beer. So I might just do a 5 litre 10-minute boiled IPA just for shit and giggles basically. So I'll leave this for now, come back when this is finished and get some measurements and get the next batch happening. Okay, so our grain's been sleeping away now for 20 minutes. I've just made up 2 litres of malt, so 2 litres of water, 200 grams of malt, light dry malt, powder. I'll grab a sample on that, give that a second to cool. And it's going to run that through the refractometer. I don't know how you actually meant to pronounce it. Refractometer. Good enough. And we'll just use that to get ourselves a quick reading. I've only recently purchased this, and I'll tell you, if you don't have one in the brewery, you really should think about getting one. They're a great little piece of equipment. Okay, and that's telling me that that is sitting at 1043, which is going to be pretty much, I imagine, right. All the literature tells you that when you're making up a like a malt mix for hops or for yeast starch, anything like that, a 10-to-1 ratio gets you around that 1040 mark. So 1043 is certainly in the ballpark. So that's going to be our yardstick for making that comparison with the grains to see what the difference is, because realistically, if we're making our wort up and we're replacing the malt with actual grain, then that's the exact comparison we've got to look at. Okay, so I'll pop that aside. I'll give these two a little bit of a stir about 15 minutes in, just to stimulate a little bit more water in there. So I'll do the same when I do the next mix. So that's got about 7.5 minutes to go, so I'll pop back when that's done. Okay, so now half an hour's up on the steep. I've taken both bags out, just giving them a gentle squeeze to get make sure everything's out of there, just to make sure we got as much extracted as what we can. So this is the Golden Promise. So this is the base malt. Okay, that to me looks like about 1035, 1034. So it's quite a bit lower than the pure malt, which is to be expected. So 1034. I'll add that to the big pot. Yeah. Now this is the specialty grain, the Carahel. Yeah, and this is where, depending on, there we go, we're expecting to get a very low number. Number is exactly what we got. That's 1007, 1007. So at the moment that certainly backs up the low fermentability. It's definitely not a case of there's no fermentables in there, but that's pretty small in the big picture. So now I'm going to get on. I'm going to do the Golden Promise and the specialty together and see what that will give us. And we'll come back and have a look at that when it's finished. Alright folks, we're about 20 odd minutes into the steep of this grain. I'm just doing a little bit of mucking around. Just ground up some coffee beans. Batch I roasted up just 2 days ago, so I've never been breathing. I'll just ground them up so I can take them down to the mother-in-law. We're going down tomorrow. I've got a family funeral, so thought I'd take her a bag of coffee and a bag for myself. I'll just pull my hops out. I'm just going to try and work out what I might do with this beer when it's finished. I'm going to throw at it. I'm not real sure. Oh, there you go, there's an idea. Some Motueka, Waimea. And a bit of Galaxy. There you go. We'll do an Anzac, even though it's an illegal term. We'll do an Anzac IPA for the hell of it. So a bit older Galaxy there actually. Throw all that in. We'll go a bit silly. There. I think that'll make me happy. That'll do the job. So got that sorted. Now just to wait for this to finish. Okay, so we finished the steep on the combined Golden Promise and the Carrot Hill. So we've more stimulated a normal sort of a mash. See if that makes any difference to what we extract out of that Carrot Hill, the specialty grain. So we'll see what this gives us. Right, and that's given us 1014. Which is considerably lower than I would have been expecting, that's for sure. I would have certainly expected to be left to be a middle ground, which should have been 27. Should have been somewhere around 1020. So. It's interesting the fact that it certainly doesn't appear that, in this case anyway, and it could simply be a case of low volumes, that mashing with the grain didn't make a lot of difference. It was only half an hour, maybe it needed longer for the mash, for that to be, efficient to work properly. But right now, for the purpose of what we're doing today, I think it really gives enough information to work going forward with. The main thing that I'm obviously seeing is that you're not getting much at all out of your specialty grains if you're doing a steep. So if you're adding grains to your kit and kilos, bulking your kit up, adding those specialty grains isn't going to really give you anything extra alcohol-wise. Again, it will depend on how much you use, but realistically, looking at those numbers, even if you used a kilo in a full batch, you're only going to get somewhere around, maybe 3 gravity points in a 23 litre batch. So that's 0.4% alcohol in the final product. So while it's not insignificant, it's not a large amount either. Obviously the specialty malts are there to add flavour and a little bit of body, and some interest to the final beer, just to change it up a little bit from your basic can and a kilo of dextrose or just a kilo of malt. And obviously with the range of specialty grains there's such a big range, there's a large amount of differences that you can make to your final beer. Looking at those numbers, particularly with the base malt itself, I wouldn't be in a real big hurry off those numbers to replace dry malt with a base malt. I think to stick with the dry malt if you only want to replace, you know, with a base. It's not really worth it. I remember from my days of doing kits, I did some when I first started playing around with grains, and I do remember the beers had a lot more bigger body. There was, yeah, they had a bigger oomph, but it didn't make a massive amount of difference for the flavour. But going into specialty malts, that's a different thing altogether. Again, you're not going to be able to pull back equal parts of malt, but if you were to say, you know, going from this, you pull back a couple of 100 grams of a dry malt and replace that with, you know, half a kilo to a kilo of specialty malt, yeah, that's been steeped in, you know, 10 litres of water. That's going to give you a significant flavour change, you know. And again, depending on the malt what you're using, whether it's a crystal or, you know, basic like a light caramel or a medium crystal or a, you know, even a chocolate or a roast barley. Again, depending on where you're using it. Okay, so anyway, that's all done. You've got an idea of what contribution that little bit of grain's going to make. Make your own decisions, do what you want with it, but keep records, and so you can fine tune for your own taste and with the results that you get at the end of the day. So as always, if you've got any comments, you know, stick them in the bottom. Any questions, anything extra you want to know. Today's been a bit of a mess. It's not not a lot of flow in what we've done today. So if you need to clarify anything, just ask. You know, hit the subscribe button if you haven't down there, so you get the new videos when they come out. Check out Aussie Home Brewer if you for chatting. There's lots of people on there sharing information, recipes and ideas. Check out the website, Little John's Brewing. Keep up abreast of what's going on. But that's me for today. That's grain steeping and how it can be used in your brews. So until next time I'm looking at you, good brewing.